Hi everyone! So if you have played Diablo 3 for a while, like I have or like many other people, you have probably come into the issue that, especially when you start pushing your character, be it solo or groups or whatever you want to do, you will come to the point where it's not so easy to complete a Greater Rift anymore, which is kind of the point of pushing to begin with. Now in Diablo 3 there is a lot of RNG with what map you can get, what monster types, what pylons, what Rift Guardian, and a lot of other small little factors like the distribution of the elites and their affixes and these kind of things. And all that leads to the issue that you have to spend hundreds or even thousands of keys if you want to reach the cap of your character and push to the highest tier possible. So I do that quite regularly. I think this is no news to my regular viewers. So, for example, when I pushed GL 150 solo with my Wave of Light Monk this season, I spent 3000 keys. And I've also done 150 with Innas, which was a few hundred keys. And then usually my pushes are somewhere between like 100 to 500 keys. So this is kind of the expected value to get a really good run that you will actually able to complete in time. And then you can be very close to the potential maximum at least. Of course, you can always throw more keys at the obelisk and get even better RNG. There's always a better rift around the corner, but typically this is not really worth doing, and the results are quite marginal, to the point where people don't really go much beyond that. Now, ever since the Greater Rift system was introduced in Season 1, we had the issue that the RNG is very high, and you don't want to potentially even try many of the rifts that you're going to open. So when I go here and we have a keep dice map in floor 1, this is almost as bad as it gets. I'm not even looking at what monster type we have. And you just want to go back to town and quit the game. Now this is a very slow and tedious process, and it has become worse and worse as time passes, because, well, back then we had very slow key acquisition, we had the trials, and every key was kind of valuable to the point where you would actually try a map like this if it turns out to be okay. But these days, where you can farm over 100 keys an hour consistently, in some cases with very advanced strategies, you can go 200, 300, 400 keys an hour with some help. You don't put any value in a single key. You just quit the game and open a new run, because there is no point to go through this floor 1 trying to get a good floor 2, because you would waste 3 minutes doing so. And instead you could just farm another 10 keys in that time and potentially open a much better rift where you don't lose those 3 minutes to start with. Now the problem comes that every time you have to go and leave the game and then go back to menu and start a new game, and you have to open a new rift. And this is extremely annoying and time consuming, and especially when you do these big solo pushes or group pushes, yeah, you spend more time in the menu than you actually playing the game. And this is really a big issue. Now there are many ways to alleviate this problem, which is, first of all, is to improve the balance of the game, which is terrible in many aspects. I've already made a lot of suggestions about this in another video many months ago. And I could probably make another whole series about what I would change in terms of more balance. Perfect balance is not necessarily needed, but it should definitely be improved to the point where you don't want to throw away like 90% of the rifts or even more to just try to get something good. But on the other hand, the closing and restarting process should also be improved. So for example here, there is no way to close this GR. When you play in groups, there is actually a way to close the GR, and that is if only a part of the group has opened the GR and that part of the group leaves, it will close without actually resetting the game. So for example, we have 4 people in this game, one guy opens the GR alone and then quits the game, the GR will actually close and the obelisk will become available again. So the question is, why can we not use this logic to actually close GRs in a solo game or in a group game where everyone participated? It would be much faster, and it would probably be better on the servers as well to just close the rift and not the entire game, and you could, reset in a matter of a second instead of 20 seconds or so to go to menu and go back to the new game. So when I go in here and I see, oh, there's a keeps, I don't want to do this, I just quit, and then, I don't know, you could talk to Auric, or even better, you have a button here, in case you've never noticed. There's a button here to close and open the objectives. Why is there not just another button to close the Greater Rift? And in a group, this would maybe initiate a vote or something, and if everyone accepts, just close it, easy. I think that even with any potential balance changes coming in the future, or maybe not, something like this should definitely be included at some point, and rather sooner than later. Especially these days that we have the leaderboards with all the different sets for every single class. I think people probably take more time for pushing all these different leaderboards than they used to in the past, maybe, because now they want to do like their main character, like the Firebirds, for example, and then on the way there they have gathered maybe a Veer set and maybe a Tarasha set, and they also want to spend some keys there to trying to get on the leaderboards, which is why those leaderboards were actually implemented. So why not make it easier for everyone and make it more fun and less time consuming to actually push and get a rift that you want? If you already spent the effort and the time to farm those keys, why can't you just use them up more quickly? Now, I said all of this as someone who obviously would profit probably the most or close to the most from such a feature, but I think that especially given how the game functions, how pushing works with the RNG involved and everything, this is a very straightforward feature that almost everyone who wants to push in some way would profit from. And not just that, recently I've also done a public GR game, and oh boy, that was an experience. So that was the first time in a public game for me, actually, because I basically never do this. Usually I just play alone, or I play with my team, or I play with viewers, but in that case I just gave it a shot, and I realized that, oh boy, that is such an outdated and incomplete system, where, well, even more almost than in solo pushing, we need such a restart button. So at some point, like, my mate left and I was alone with 3 randoms, and we walked into this GR 119, nothing even crazy, and I was kind of carrying, but the first guy started dying and then left the game, and then the next guy left, and the other guy was leeching in town because he couldn't do anything, and I was completely alone in this 4-player GR with my solo speed farming setup that was not exactly able to clear it super fast, and it was a nightmare. So people kept leaving and rejoining and all that stuff, and I realized there's actually no way to close this rift and go and stay with the same people. Like, you have to leave the game and all the people that you just played with in order to actually start a new rift. I couldn't cancel the run. Funny part is also that no one even knows what difficulty we are doing. So unless you chat and take the time to message each other during the run, they can't know like what tier you are in, how long it will roughly take. I don't know, they have no information. And I think during the course of this 6-minute run or something, there were like 20 different people leaving and joining the game every few seconds, essentially, because they wouldn't want to wait until I complete this slow 4-man run, which I wanted to quit like long ago. So there's another reason, and a quite important one, I believe. So especially in a scenario where you have no real matchmaking, like in Diablo 3, there's no like Paragon filter, no filter by role or class or build or anything, or like a GR range, there's nothing. I feel that, this probably happens very often to random parties where just someone opens something like, way too high, for example, and the group is not able to handle it, and the whole thing just falls apart immediately. So I would be very curious to hear about this actually from maybe you guys, what are your experiences of that? But I believe this would actually be a quite big issue that could be partly solved, at least, with such a restart feature as well. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the topic. So a greater restart button or some kind of feature that would help people pushing and would help the public, greater rift parties, would probably be appreciated by a lot of people, I believe. So let me know what you think. Maybe we can hope for something like that in the future, and let's see what happens. So that's all for me. Hope you liked this video, and see you guys next time.